Alrighty, guys, so all of this talk about the MCU and the way that the MCU is now going to be focusing on television, where Brad Winterbaum has been talking, and if you want to check out those exact quotes and my thoughts on them, I've done segments in the past couple weeks about the new strategy for the MCU in terms of television shows and how there aren't going to be Avengers in them anymore and things like that. And it got me thinking, right? Because it's I think that, Marvel is going to start developing shows that will now start from season 1 and then see, kind of a pilot season and then see if they want to do future seasons of that. And I think that that's exciting, almost like the way that they were doing it before with Defenders and Daredevil and all that kind of, all those good shows. But they're doing it now with Daredevil Born Again, right? So they've launched season 1 and it looks like they're going to be doing new seasons every year, which is exciting. I think that that's a really good thing. Let's maybe get 3, 4, 5 good seasons of Daredevil Born Again and see where we go from there. But Marvel is going to be doing that. It looks like they were on track to be doing that with Terror Inc. and Strange Academy and Nova, at least piloting those shows in an interesting way. It looks like they were on pause, though, and so we'll see if that continues in the future. But, I was thinking about that, and I don't think anything thus far has precluded the MCU, because I don't think any of the comments have outright denied the fact that they could be making season 2s of shows that they've already done. And I think that it's an interesting thought exercise to think about which seasons of the MCU television up until this point, so I guess right before Daredevil Born Again, which seasons of television that the MCU has done could get season 2s, right? Let's go through all the seasons of television and think about what are the most likely TV shows to get season 2s. And I think that there is a distinct possibility that they revisit some of these characters down the line, and I'll explain why based on the criteria here. So, First of all, let's kind of set the ground rules here. There are a couple criteria that Marvel Television has laid out. Number one is that they want to focus on characters that are not Avengers kinds of characters, right? So I think that, in that respect, we're not going to get a Loki season 3, for example, not to bury the lead. But because Tom Hiddleston is a movie character, he's a movie actor, and I don't mean to disrespect any of the actors we're going to talk about here, but there is sort of a level of, and I think money has a part to play in this as well, of we're not going to be able to pay, Jeremy Renner that much. I mean, that was one of the things that was said recently of Jeremy Renner was not going to do Hawkeye season 2 because they just can't pay him as much. And same thing with Tom Hiddleston, for example, because he's going to be in Avengers Doomsday. And so I think that makes sense. So that's really the criteria of it's not going to be a big character, and likely it's going to be a lesser known actor in general. Now, based on the shows that that have come before, it's going to be a little tricky because a lot of these shows are headlined by very prominent actors, but we'll do our best to kind of parse through them. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through every single MCU show that I believe is not going to get a season 2. And I'm going to explain why very, very quickly before we dive into the 5 shows in order from least likely to most likely that I do think has a chance of a season 2. Because I think that most shows in the MCU thus far, or at least over half of them, have no chance of season 2. And I'll explain why. So quickly, WandaVision. I think the story's done. I don't think that there's any chance that we get a WandaVision season 2. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sam Wilson is an Avenger. Sam Wilson is transitioning into the movies, and he's Captain America. He's not getting a season 2. Loki, I think for the same reasons, Tom Hiddleston, big actor, Avengers level actor, he's going to be in Doomsday. I also think that his story is just kind of wrapped up at this point. So no, I don't think Loki season 3 is going to happen. Hawkeye, I think is for that reason of they're not going to do shows with Avengers anymore. I think that Hawkeye season 2, as much as I would like a Hawkeye season 2, I really would. I don't think it's going to happen. I think even Haley Steinfeld, if you just did a Hawkeye season 2 and it was just Haley Steinfeld, I think that'd be, honestly, a big letdown. Not that Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop is bad, but it's Hawkeye, right? So I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to skip over the next few shows here because I think you know why. Let's move on to Secret Invasion. First of all, didn't do well. Second of all, what's the story going to be? Third of all, Samuel L. Jackson, I think, is just too expensive to make another show of. And I think that is it, right? We're not going to count Werewolf by Night. We're not going to count the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I think that's about it. The other 5 shows, I believe in some capacity, have a good shot, or at least a shot, of getting a season 2. And we'll talk about my reasons why. I'm just double checking here that I didn't miss a show, because I feel like there are more shows than that. But I guess that's it. Yeah, that's about it. So the other 5 shows, I believe, have a shot of getting season 2. And we'll talk about that in order. So going from least likely to most likely, let's talk about it. Number 5 is Ekko. Now, Ekko, I don't think is going to get another season, but you can see the potential here, right? Because Ekko, well, it wasn't terribly received. It wasn't particularly positively received. And for my opinion as well, it's just the most, I don't remember the show. It just kind of happened and then you forget about it. And that's not a great thing for the MCU. That's why it's pretty low in my rankings. I don't hate the show at all. I watched it and I was like, okay, that was that. I think though there is potential. And do we remember, does everyone remember the first trailer for Ekko that came out? Everyone was like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. And I think that there is a potential to make a season 2, especially now that Daredevil is kind of living in the TV world again, and he's probably not going to appear in the movies. You could bring Kingpin back, excuse me. You could bring Daredevil back. I think that would be interesting. I just think that the show wasn't received all that well. The one thing working for it, again, no disrespect meant, just in terms of general, like how much these actors would be I guess paid. Like Robert Downey Jr. is going to be paid so much money for Doomsday. Alako Cox, I think that she's a name that you could definitely bring back for Ekko. And I think that you could tell side stories with this character. I just don't know how many people would be all that interested. And I think that that's why it's number 5. But I think there's a chance for it, so that's number 5. Number 4, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. This is a show I maintain that while it's not my favorite show at all, I think the bad episodes in this show, or at least the parts that I don't like, are quite just unappealing to me. I would really not like to rewatch some of the episodes of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, but I actually think in general there are more good episodes in the show than people give it credit for. The first few episodes I think are great. The stuff with Abomination is really good. I think that the stuff at the beginning with her getting her powers is fine. It's fun with Hulk, and I think that some of the stuff here later on as well, with Daredevil, is really good. It's just the stuff in the middle, like the wedding episode, is really not great. The stuff with the retreat was just really bad. The finale was really weird. But again, I think there is potential here, right, to do a season 2 and to really make it great. A couple of things that I think prevent this from happening. Number 1 is that Tatiana Maslany is a pretty well-known actress, and I think that getting her to come back would be a bit of a stretch in terms of money and just her schedule and whatnot. Number 2, though, is a thing that I have been thinking about, because, again, I think that, even though the first season wasn't received as well as I think Marvel had hoped, I think that there's always room to make a season 2 just based on the potential of how it's going to go. But really, the big thing that I'm worried about is CGI and budget. These TV shows can't have, at this point, as big of a budget. I think that Brad Winterbaum talked about the fact that the TV shows just can't. The margins are lower. And unless She-Hulk is in maybe 2% of the show, the budget on this is going to be crazy high. And so I just don't know how they're going to be able to do that on a TV budget. We'll see. But I think that there is definitely potential to do a season 3. Speaking of 3, number 3, Agatha All Along. I think that obviously this show ended on a note where you could do a season 2. I think people generally liked it a lot. And I think that Catherine Hahn would definitely be down to come back as Ghost Agatha, and Joe Locke would be able to come back as Billy. There's unresolved business here. I don't know if it's going to get resolved in the Vision show, which Brad Winterbaum has said this is going to be the last Avengers-centric show. So we'll see. But I think that this is definitely a show that could get a season 2. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. There's been a lot of back and forth. We've talked about it a lot over the last couple of months of, being entered in awards consideration and whatnot. And I think that there's a decent chance that we get into season 2 territory. I think that 3, 2, and 1, these shows are very, not very likely, but I think in the realm of possibility that we get a season 2. Coming in at number 2, Moonnight. I think really the only thing holding me back from putting Moonnight as number 1, because I think Moonnight needs a season 2, the more that I think about it. The one thing holding me back is that Oscar Isaac is probably going to be a very expensive and hard to get actor to come back for the MCU. He was, say what you will about Moon Knight, and I've said my piece about Moon Knight. I think it's messy. The concept, though, is fantastic. And some of the execution of that concept is so good. I've said, first couple episodes of Moon Knight rival some of the best television that Marvel has done ever. I think it lines up with even your Daredevils and whatnot. I love the concept. I just think the execution towards the end was so sloppy and so rushed, and it just was baffling to me. But you get this character to come back and have Jake Lockley be, I don't know, the villain, or have someone else be the villain. This is a show that could really benefit from a season 2. And I would very much like to see it. So, Moon Knight season 2. But number 1, this is by far and away to me the easiest choice. It's Miss Marvel. I think Miss Marvel could easily be the show that continues to get season 2, season 3, season 4 every single year. First of all, Iman Vellani, Kamala Khan. She's amazing. And again, I mean, she's not as established of an actress that you could definitely have her come back and be a recurring lead on this TV show. The cast of characters is great. You can bring all of them back. And this is a show that you could have cameos from Avengers, like Brad Winterbaum was talking about. And yes, she's transitioned into the movies, right? She was in the Marvels. And I'm sure she'll show up again in a movie or so. I think, though, that this is just the perfect scenario to bring her back to Jersey and have adventures in Jersey every year. I think that Miss Marvel is 100%. If you were going to make a season 2 of any of these 5 shows, Miss Marvel is the one. So guys, what do you think about this? Which MCU TV show that has come out before that has a previous season, what do you think is the most likely one to get a season 2? I think that there are some very good candidates out there, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below.